Life is hectic.
Some days are just a blur.
We're Jay and Laura LaFoon, and we help busy couples stay married for life.
Welcome to the Married for Life podcast. We're continuing today with our mental intimacy. We're going to talk about how you are smart. But before we get that, we just got back from an Alaskan cruise. And oh my goodness, what an amazing cruise it was. You know, for those of you who don't know, Jay and I host cruises every year. It's called Celebrate Your Marriage at Sea. Usually it's in January. We go someplace warm because we live in Michigan and we are ready to get out of the cold. But, you know, we've had a lot of cruisers cruise with us over the years and they've said, you guys, you got to do a cruise to Alaska. So we're like,
we put it on the calendar.
Okay, we put it on the calendar.
We are so glad that we did.
It is just gorgeous.
And the beauty, the majesty is amazing up here.
And we just enjoy, we have a group that cruise with us every year. This year, they've had to separate themselves between January and July. But our cruises for us, we love getting to know the people who come on the cruise. We love getting to know you folks out there who listen to us on our Married for Life podcast, who come to our date nights, who are Facebook fans, and then come on the cruise with us. And it just gives us 7 days to really get to know you better and develop some friendships and relationships that we have developed with people for gee whiz, I don't even know, 15 years maybe. And it's just, and it's just really a fun time for us. We really, really enjoy our cruise.
Obviously, we saw some wonderful nature. We saw some beautiful wildlife. But on every cruise, Laura gives me a gift. And the gift is that she will do one adventurous
activity.
Excursion. And we've gone parasailing, we've gone snorkeling, we've gone and climbed Dunn River Falls in Jamaica. That was
some are a lot funner than others.
Yeah. And so this year, I gave Laura a bunch of options. The one I wanted to do was helicopter ride up to the glacier, but you know, at $500 a person, we just didn't have that kind of coin to spend.
I wasn't feeling that adventurous.
Right. So Laura has a fear of heights, number one, and she has an extreme fear of bridges. But what she is going to do, what she did. Oh yeah, that's right. She booked us on this excursion, and
the Yukon Suspension Bridge. Pedestrian.
It's pedestrian. Okay.
So I had to walk across the gorge.
It's suspended 200. It's 1,000 feet across, and it's suspended over a raging river, 200 feet above the river. But she did.
I made it. I did it. I survived. I'm here to tell you about it. I bought a T-shirt. So don't have to do that one again. Check that off the list. She buys a T-shirt
everywhere we go.
Check that off the list. But hey, if you're interested in looking into our cruises, we cruise every January, and every third year we'll also do something in the summertime on a cruise. So you can check that out at Celebrate Your Marriage at Sea.
And you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to drop the bomb right now.
Oh, that's right.
Drop the bomb right now.
Because we're not doing a second cruise next year, but
we are going to Israel. We are doing a Holy Land tour with Jason Crabb and the Nellens, and it's going to be a blast. It's an 8-day tour. You can click a link here in the show notes, and you'll be able to get right to where you register for it. Space is limited, so you want to register soon. But if you've never been to the Holy Land, it's not a bucket list. It's beyond whatever's beyond a bucket list. You've got to go. I was privileged to go my senior year of college. I went with an organization called Wandering Wheels, and we literally bicycled around the country of Israel.
You came home with a little Israel on your shoulder.
I got some Israel on my shoulder because I wiped out on my bike, staring at the plains of Megiddo. And anyway, Masada, the mountain where
I don't know. I've never been there. Can't wait to go.
You're gonna go. It was Masada.
But hey, we'll put the link in there if you're interested in our cruises or going to Israel with us. Those will be in the show notes. But let's move on to our Married for Life podcast talking about mental intimacy. But first, we have a shout out from a listener. This is from Robin. Hooray! Finally! We have counseled with 2 pastors and neither one really got our sense of humor, which is mainly sarcasm. Well, there you go, speaking my language. We've been reading through He Said, She Said. It has changed our marriage. We've been married for 37 years and attended an ultimate date night in Ohio. We bought the red bag. I really had low expectations since we hadn't had much progress in the last 12 years. My husband really responded to your approach. Most of our counseling was heavy on the woman submit and light on the husbands love your wives as Christ loved the the church. Little by little, things are changing because God used your ministry to draw us back to learning about each other. She's talking here about our He Said, She Said book. That they bought in a Redback special, which is something we sell at our Ultimate Date Nights.
You can see the book in the show notes.
Yes, exactly. And we appreciate, Robin, you shouting out and letting us know that, that's something that we obviously understand your humor because we are sarcastic as well. So, but
you are.
But it's my spiritual gift. But it is, it's always good to hear that the Lord is using something from us to help somebody else. So we appreciate that.
It's why we do what we do. It's why we do the podcast. It's why we do the blog. It's why we do the TV show, all these things we do because we love getting stories like this, where it's finally working, we're finally making it happen, and we love putting tools into your hands. And so if you've never been to one of our events, I would encourage you to check out our website. We have so much fun. It is just nonstop laughter and fun at all of our events. And not only that, it changes your marriage as well. What we are going to move into...
We're continuing talking about mental intimacy like we did last week, but this week we're going to actually help you discover and identify how you are smart. It's not how smart you are.
It's not how smart you are.
It's how you are smart.
And that is so, so important. So there's 8. Actually, there's 12. We're going to review 8 different types of intelligence. The ones we're not going to review are culinary intelligence and a couple others that I can't remember.
That have been newly kind of discovered here.
They have criteria for what, in order to call it intelligent, it has to meet certain criteria. But we're going to go over 8 of those and really kind of give you an idea, help you look into your own life and your own marriage and say, oh, that's why my husband thinks that way. Or, oh, my wife's really good in this area. So the first intelligence is called linguistic intelligence. And basically that means word smart, that you are word smart.
Now, we're both word smart, just different, word smart differently.
Right.
Like when we write a book, Jay's very flowery with his language, probably writes a lot of words down that don't need to be in there. I, on the other hand, am very concise. And so we write, Jay writes, here's this chapter he's going to write on it. I'm going to write on this chapter. And then we switch. And I take some of the flowery out and he puts some flowery in where I don't. So it really works well. So while we're both word smart, we're different in our wording,
right? And
in our word smartness.
Here's the other thing too. Laura and I are speakers who write. We're not writers who speak. And again, just because you're word smart doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to speak well. You might write well, or you might handle, the idea of words, and you might love to read. That is an intelligence, and it's called linguistic intelligence.
Well, and I, for instance, when we talked last week about our pressure washer. When we had to put our pressure washer together, Jay would rather just look at it and try and figure out, I'm going to read the instructions, and I read them out loud to him because then he hears it, processes it, and puts it together. Again, both good with words, but differently. So probably in your marriage, one of you is better with words than the other.
And again, the words thing comes in very different ways. Some people, when they were in college, they read the textbook cover to cover, took notes on the textbook. Well, I'm an auditory learner, and I figure that, like most people, professors are arrogant, so they're only going to test you on the things that they talk about. So I would come to class and take copious notes by what I heard out of the mouth of our prof rather than reading and trying to study that way.
I read and took notes on what I read, highlighted the book, still took notes in class, but I did both and still do to this day. When I read, I underline, I take notes and do all that. So again, linguistic means you're word smart. That's your intelligence is linguistic.
The second type of intelligence is logical mathematical.
Not Laura.
That's correct. Laura is not logical or mathematical. She is actually a mathnostic. She
Don't believe in math.
Doesn't believe math exists. One of you is probably better than the other with numbers. And in our house, it happens to be me. I'm good at running numbers. I run numbers all the time for our ministry, and
it's so boring.
It makes Laura's head explode. But just because you're not good at it doesn't mean you can't improve. Because Laura is now runs the books in our house, which requires math, and it's not her favorite thing. It's not her most gifted thing. But
it's called a calculator.
Right. Most likely, one of you is better with numbers than the other. Laura is really good with numbers. She likes spending numbers. Those are the kind of numbers she's good with.
Yes. When we first met, I had I didn't like that word budget. I didn't like numbers. I didn't like algebraic. I mean, who uses algebra? Tell me, if you use algebra in your daily life, I want you to send me a note on this.
Not a math teacher.
Yes. Not a math teacher. I don't need math teachers, but seriously, who needs algebra? Now, geometry I liked. I could do geometry.
Right. And
because I am the next. So we have linguistic, we have logical, mathematical. I like geometry because I am spatially intelligent.
Now, when we're into the
Not
South,
spatially.
we have to say it's not special, it's spatial.
I can see where things should go and how things. I'm good at puzzles. I'm good at arranging furniture. I'm good at colors. All that spatial, that kind of stuff I can see.
Yep. Our house looks like it's been in HGTV. Everything looks right. Everything is colored right. Everything goes where it's supposed to go, and that is Laura's gift.
And if it's not, I want to change it all the time.
Yes. And the next intelligence is bodily kinesthetic intelligence. And again, might not look this way from stage, but Laura and I both possess a great deal of bodily kinesthetic. That's basically physical intelligence. Laura, in 1984, was invited to try out for the United States Women's Olympic Soccer Team. She was one of the best women's soccer players in the country. And I have been a really good golfer for a long time. In fact, was told by a hand surgeon after I broke the hook of the hamate bone in my right hand. He said that he only sees this injury in elite athletes. So
no one can verify that the doctor said that because no one was in there with him. But he says he's an elite athlete.
I broke my hook of the hamate bone. Anyway,
we were watching TV this weekend, and it was a special on the Detroit Tigers, and all these men from 1984 when the Tigers won the World Series. They're old now, and I was just looking. I'm like, oh man, they look so old. And I said, it's just amazing that they were elite athletes. And Jay said, well, I'm an elite athlete. The doctor told me. And I said, well, nobody verified that with us.
So the first four before we go to the break: linguistic, which is word smart; logical mathematical, which is number smart; spatial intelligence, which is picture smart; and bodily kinesthetic intelligence, which is body smart. We'll be back after the break.
Hi, everyone. This is Paul Thomas, Director of Live Events here at Celebrate Ministries. A couple of things I want to make you aware of. The Ultimate Date Night Wonder of Love Tour is set to kick off this August. Jay and Laura have an all-new comedy show and an all-new teaching on 6 ways to grow love in your marriage. You can see the schedule of dates for this fall. You can inquire about bringing Jay and Laura to your church, either this fall or in 2020, by visiting ultimatedatenight.com. Celebrate Your Marriage will take place on October 6th and 7th at Historic Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, Michigan. And this year we will welcome special guests Acts of Renewal, and our VIP experience will feature Dr. David and Terry Sumlin of Marriage Life Ministries. You can purchase tickets. You can find out more by visiting celebrateyourmarriage.com. Now, let's get back to Jay and Laura LaFoon.
Welcome back as we move through the 8 multiple intelligences. It's not how smart you are, it's how you are smart. And the next intelligence is musical intelligence. This is something that I was given by my father. My father was a very good singer, and people have told me I'm a very good singer too. That's kind of what I do for a living. But musical intelligence, Laura, on the other hand, likes music.
I do. I can't sing, but I know words. We were just talking about this over the 4th of July, that, we were at a friend's house and we were listening to music, and Jay likes to play this stupid game every time he turns on music called Who's Singing This? He's like, who is it? Who is it? And our friend Emma knew everyone that Jay was saying. I knew the words, but I don't know who's singing it, but I remember the words. And so I think that's a form of musical intelligence, isn't it? That I can remember. It also goes back to my word smart, but I can remember the words to songs and stuff like that. I just don't know who wrote them or sang them, and it doesn't really matter. So
that's the next intelligence. Another one that we have is called interpersonal intelligence. Interpersonal is you're good with people. Okay, you're really good interacting with people. Salespeople usually have this kind of intelligence. Social workers, folks that like to deal with people. You can read people really well. That is interpersonal.
I can do that.
Yes.
I read people really well. Jay always, when we meet new people, or maybe even if we're coaching a couple or counseling a couple and it's over, and Jay will say, so what's your read on that? What's your read on them? Well, yeah, but that's, because I do have the ability to just go, I think that maybe this is going on. I don't feel like they were that honest with the, whatever it might be, or they're trying to pull a fast one over us or whatever. So, I have a bit of that interpersonal.
The next is called intrapersonal, and that is self-smart. These are people who are deep thinkers. They have to process. Laura is an intrapersonal. She has intrapersonal intelligence. Once they think it through, they own it. But they really they're deep thinkers on a.
So if you're married to a deep thinker, just remember that they just need to process it. But when they come up with an opinion or a decision, they're going to own it, and it'll be, lifelong. So you should be thankful for that.
And the final intelligence is called naturalist intelligence. These are people who are nature smart. They get nature. They understand how nature works. The hunters are usually really good naturalist intelligence. People who understand that moss grows on the south side of a tree. Those kind of people.
Ba-doom-ching. Would these be people? By the way, moss grows on the north side of the tree. There, I'm getting back. I know I was like ba-doom-ching. But would these be people who enjoy camping too, who like to be outside in the great outdoors in a tent on the ground?
Sure, with dirt.
Not us.
And fires.
No. Give us a hotel.
Yeah, that's right. I like sitting outside, being outside, but I'm not a big camp. We're not big campers. So the 8 intelligences, just to review again for today, is linguistic, which is word smart, logical mathematical, which is number smart, spatial, which is picture smart, bodily kinesthetic, body smart, musical intelligence, musical smart, interpersonal, people smart, intrapersonal, self smart, and finally, naturalist intelligence, which is nature smart.
And we will list all those in the show notes, because what we'd like to have you do is for you to go through those with your spouse. If you're listening to this podcast by yourself, either on the treadmill or in your car or wherever it is, and you go, I'd really like to go over these with my spouse. We'll list those in the show notes so that you can sit down with each other, go over them and say, hey, I think you're this, or I think I'm that. And then when you do that, you're able to go, you know what? I'm going to let you make the decision here on this particular, because you have that intelligence. For instance, when we decorate our house, Laura makes the decisions. When we do budget, Jay makes the decisions, because we have those gifts that the other one doesn't have. So that's what's really important in attaining mental intimacy, is discovering your intelligences, identifying them, and then working on ways in your marriage that you can defer to the other one who has that intelligence and you don't. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on the Married for Life podcast. We'd just like to ask that you share it, rate us on whatever platform you're listening to this on, and join us next week for the Married for Life podcast, where we help busy couples stay happily married for life.